Hello and welcome, family, to another episode of Beyond Six Figures. I'm your host, Yazi, and it's my mission to help you cultivate a mindset that is worth more than millions. Today's guest is Bevin Farrand, author, mom, philanthropist, musician, so much more. And today we get into topics about spirituality, her upbringing, and her damn framework, and how you can apply it to your life to make your life much better than what it is. So, if you're ready for a great and exciting conversation, I'm not going to hold you too long. Let's get into today's episode with Bevin Farrand. All right. Thank you, Bevin, for being here. So we are going to get right into it. So, guys, welcome to another episode. Thank you again for being here, Beyond Six Figures. Today I have Bevin Farrand.
Farrand. No, Bevin Farrand, yeah.
Bevin Farrand. I do apologize.
Okay.
And so just to give you guys a quick rundown, she is a author, speaker, musician, and dubbed warrior mom of 3 beautiful children. And we're going to get into her story today. Bevin has done plenty TED Talks and plenty of podcasts around the world. And we have her here today to share with us her story and also the damn framework. So, Bevin, let's get into it. Tell me more about the damn framework and how we can apply it to our lives.
Sure. So the damn framework actually came about after I went through a series of really difficult experiences. So in 2019, I got laid off from a job that I absolutely loved.
Okay.
And it was about 4 months after I'd had my second son, or my second kid. So he's my son. And so we were not expecting that at all. And my husband and I were kind of out walking on our country roads. And I told him I didn't want to go back and look for a job. And of course, he was an engineer, so he like totally freaked out about that. But he was also my biggest supporter. So he freaked out internally.
Okay.
But so I started thinking about growing my own business, and I put some benchmarks in place and was working towards that. And then my husband had surprised me that he was taking me to France for my 40th birthday. That, by the way, he surprised me with that 2 weeks before I got laid off. So, it was kind of a, should we really go to France?
I don't think that's economically sound.
Right.
Yeah.
We're like, we could use this money back in our account, but we did decide to wait because he had bought travel insurance, which he never did, but we totally thought it was totally crazy. We were going to be in planes the same amount of time that we were on the ground. But we decided to go. My business had started to pick up. And so we decided to go and had an amazing time, wandered through the city of Bordeaux. It rained the entire time and we didn't care. Beautiful. But it was really a great time for us to reconnect as who we were before we had kids, before we got married. Mm-hmm. And when we returned 6 days after my birthday, after my 40th birthday, it was the day after Thanksgiving, and Mark passed away in the middle of the night. Completely unexpectedly. He had undiagnosed heart disease. One of his arteries was 95% blocked. The other was 50% blocked. And all of a sudden, I am now a solo parent of 2 kids under the age of 3, brand new business that has not really yet stood the test of time. And I'm doing all of it without my best friend and the love of my life and my biggest cheerleader. And so my life was completely flipped upside down. And about a month later, I posted on social media talking about my birthday and talking about that trip. And I ended it by saying, whenever you're faced with a choice, just take the damn trip. And that really resonated with people. And I got a bunch of messages from people who said, I was going to say no to this trip, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the leap. And so I started to think about the hardest things that I've been through in my life, not just losing Mark, but I lost my dad to cancer when I was 24. I lost my home in a house fire in 2010. My kiddos are IVF babies. And so we've been through years of fertility treatments. Mm-hmm. And then also the most amazing things that I've ever done. I eventually built that business to over $300,000 in 18 months. We built our dream home after losing the house to the fire. I had those kiddos. And I asked myself, what is it that I do differently than other people? Not better, but differently in order to navigate these situations and still create some of my biggest, boldest dreams. And that is where the DAM framework was born. So I say the word DAM a lot, but it does stand for something. So it stands for decide and declare, attend your own party, moments, not minutes, and now is the time. And so with those 4 mindset shifts, I have people create what I call your DAM manifesto, which is your yes and your 6-dimensional why. And when you ask, like, how can we apply this to our everyday life? It truly can be applied in any area. You can create a DAM manifesto for your health, for your business, for your relationships, for parenting. And when you do, you start to see how much power you have to create things in your life.
Exactly. And actually get some type of result or some type of evidence.
Yeah.
I really like the 6-dimensional why. I heard you speak on it a little bit. Do you mind diving in a little bit about that for those who
For sure.
understand what that is?
Yeah. So a lot of times we're told start with why, right? Like, oh, well, what's your why? Why do you want to do it? And that is really good advice, but it often doesn't go far enough. And so we try to hang our big dreams and our big goals on what I call your flimsy little why. So, you're talking about beyond 6 figures, right? So a lot of times people want to start a business and they want to do it for financial freedom. They want to make more money, right? Or maybe it's location freedom. They don't want to be tied to a certain area. Well, that's great until you're not making any money and you're frustrated and you're like, you know what? It would be a heck of a lot easier to just go get a job.
Exactly.
Right. Or you're like, man, I've been tied to this desk for 2 days working on this project. This is not location freedom. I might as well just go get a job.
You become a slave almost.
Right. And so we can't hang these dreams and these goals on one little why. And so I've created what I call your 6-dimensional why. And it's really the 6 most important areas of your life that are going to be impacted regardless. We just take a look at them and really flesh out how so that you can then rest on the whys that are working. So what I mean by that is, so the 6 areas are financial, because it's important, emotional, mental, physical, social, and spiritual. So if I look at my own DAM manifesto, so my DAM manifesto when it comes to work is to share the DAM framework with as many people as possible in as many ways as possible. That's my yes. And my 6-dimensional why is in order to create a thriving, sustainable business that both supports and inspires my kids and the world.
Yes.
So when I'm not making enough money or I'm doing a project that hasn't yet started turning a profit, I can rest on my spiritual why, which has nothing to do with religion. I rest on my spiritual why, which is this is my soul's purpose.
Let's go.
If I'm doing it and I'm like, okay, everybody's like, do it for your kids. And I'm like, that's great. But my kids are the ones who have kept me up 3 nights in a row and I'm exhausted and cranky and all I want is a nap. I'm not going to rest on that. I'm going to rest instead on my emotional why of this makes me feel so proud. This makes me feel happy. So we allow that fully fleshed out 6-dimensional why to carry us through the times when it gets hard, and it's always going to get hard at some point.
And you'll be a fool to think that it wouldn't. And I love that, because when it comes down to that 6-dimensional why, what you're speaking about, it sounds like you're cementing it or whatever. You're putting in a better foundation. You're building a better foundation, something that's more sturdy. It's not a flimsy situation. You're not going to float by night. And do you guys help? I would say that what you're stating is a better form of affirmation, right?
Say more about that, because I don't think I understand.
So to give an example, I looked up the morning what is it?
The
Morning
Miracle
routine.
Mornings.
Miracle Mornings,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've heard him speak about, how people, and we know this as well as you set goals, the affirmations are weak in a sense. You think you can stand
Hmm.
up in the mirror and just say, I am this, I am bold, I am courageous. But when you have like a six dimensional why, you can make a better affirmation because you're building it off of something that's more, it's more
Solid.
meaningful, more solid.
Yeah.
Would you
So
say
the
that's
affirmations are really more a part of the attend your own party.
got you?
So with the attend your own party, and this is the part that is often, I think, most confusing to people
Mm-hmm.
because so that the attend your own party is really twofold. One is that we're comparing ourselves only to where we've been and where we want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about affirmations, that's kind of where we're at because I don't love affirmations in that like I my body sort of rejects them. So it's like if I were to say I am running $1 million business, right? I'm like, well, not yet. So my body like comes up with all these reasons to show me that that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
But if instead I say I am the type of person who, so I am the type of person who runs $1 million business, what would that person do? Would that person need to be micromanaged? No. Would that person get up and share their message with the world? Yes, they would. And so then the other part of that with the attend your own party is that we are creating our experience through our thoughts. It's what my training is in. It's called the 3 principles of mind, thought, and consciousness. So we are experiencing the world through the filter of our thoughts. So if you want to have a different experience, you change your thoughts.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's where I think the affirmations come in to say, okay, I want to change my experience. I want to change who I'm being in the world, not who I am, but who I'm being. Then I can say things like, I am bold and courageous. And I am the type of person who is bold and courageous, who takes bold and courageous action.
Yeah.
And then that's what I'm moving towards, comparing myself only to where I've been, where I am, and where I want to go.
Man, that's amazing. So you're really helping people define just the core of their being. I love how you said that, how I'm being in the world. You mentioned responsibility, right? I watched one of your talks. You mentioned a loving responsibility.
Yeah.
How does that tie into your framework and the mindset?
So I call this radically loving responsibility. And where this came from is I was reading something by some Navy SEALs, and they were talking about radical responsibility. And I've heard of this before where it's you take full responsibility for everything that's happening around you, no matter whether you were involved or not, and all the outcomes. And that felt really aggressive to me.
Navy SEALs.
Navy SEALs are aggressive. I was
Jocko
not surprised, right?
Yeah.
Leaf Babin and Jocko Willick. I mean, they are intense guys.
Very.
So I took it and I said, I want to take 100% radically loving responsibility. And that is taking responsibility for my role in the experience of my life. Yeah. And so it is not, I'm not taking responsibility for you or what you're doing, but I can take 100% radically loving responsibility for how I show up. It also allows me to release the need to control how things end up. Because look, the brief stories that I told you, this is not how I wanted my life to end up where I'm at right now, right? It's not over, but yeah, I did not want to be a solo parent. Exactly. Right? I did not want to lose my home in a house fire. I did not want to be a widow at 40. Those are things I cannot control, but I can always control how I show up. I can choose how I share the stories of my late husband, Mark, with my kids, with the world. I can choose how I show up in sharing this message. The thing we didn't talk about is, because you mentioned I'm the mother of 3. So the way I got to be the mother of 3 is that when Mark passed away, we were 60 days away from starting our next round of IVF to have our 3rd child. And so I decided that the way I want to show up in relation to the dreams I have is I want to go after them, and I don't want to live a life of regret. Yeah. And so I decided to move forward with that IVF. And I now have our third child, my second daughter, Maristella, who was born 20 months after Mark passed away from the embryos that we had frozen before he died. Yeah. That's me showing up. That's me choosing how I show up in the world, and then letting things end up, knowing that no matter how things end up, I can still choose how I show up.
Always choose that. I like that, Pat. So tell me this, you were raised Catholic, and when those moments happen, especially in the earlier days, the moments of losing your father, the moments of losing your house, and also losing Mark, before you had the damn framework, what were the things you leaned on? Was that your spirituality? Was that the books you read? Or was this just something that was already ingrained in you?
Man, you did some research, because I don't ever talk about being Catholic, and I don't talk about being a musician that often. So I'm like, where did you find all of these things? It's amazing.
Hey, man. You gotta, look, this is the gift. I got to add some value. I want to see it. Let's go.
It's so funny because when you have a unique name, I'm like, I'll be all surprised by how somebody found that. I'm like, I mean, it's not like my name is Ann Smith. So fair enough. You found some stuff. That's a really good question, and one I've never considered. I was raised Catholic. I'm not a practicing Catholic in that, like, I don't go to church. And I remember, it's interesting you asked that in relation to my dad, because my dad was a very devout Catholic. And I remember having a conversation with him before he passed away. So I must have been in my early 20s. And we were talking about, hilariously, we were talking about the fact that he really wanted my sisters and I to get married in the church. And I can't remember if all three of my sisters were married at that time, because they all three got married within 2 years of each other. I used to joke that was my sending my father to an early grave, but that was not, he passed away from cancer, not daughters. But I remember him saying that, and I said, and he's like, I just wish, you all had more, like a more spiritual presence in your life. And I said, Dad, I'm really spiritual. I'm just not religious. And it's an important distinction, I think. Like I said, when I talk about your spiritual why, I don't care what your religion is. It can be like your way of like fulfilling God's purpose, if that's how you see it, or the universe, or whatever that spirituality is for you. But it's just that, like, it's that calling in your heart. And so I don't know. You really stumped me on this. I'm very proud of you for stumping me. I think that when we ask, like, how did I get through it? I do think with all of these things, a lot of it was sort of that social community. One of the really key components of the work that I do is, I call it layered declarations, and it's how you build your support network. And I think that's really important. I don't think any of us have enough support in life. But I think also, I really have this belief that, like, I still am connected to my dad. I'm still connected to Mark, my grandmother who passed away, and I kind of feel their presence. That is not to say it is a substitute for having them in my life in the physical form. But yeah, I think it's just kind of a blend of social community, like a connection to sort of spirituality, and then also just a willingness to sit with the big emotions. Yes. I mean, I think we're scared as a community, as a culture. There's a lot of fear around just sitting with big emotions, and we get out of sadness as quickly as possible. We're not supposed to be angry. But I don't think there's any such thing as a bad emotion. And so I coined this phrase after my dad died. I was like, when I get sad, I get deliciously sad. I dive into it. I'm not sad. Well, I said this before Mark passed away. I have more periods of sadness after losing my husband, but I don't get sad often. And my default is happy. And so when I'm feeling sad, I want to feel it, because when we feel it, it passes faster.
Oh my God. I'm glad that you said that. Tell me more about that. And you can pick whatever time or whatever
Yeah.
moment, but deliciously sad. You're allowed, basically, just tell me more about how you came about allowing those emotions to take place and then getting out of that.
The best analogy I have found for this is a riptide.
Okay.
So I've never actually been caught in one, but what I hear is that if you find yourself caught in a riptide, the natural inclination is to fight it and to swim harder and fight. And that's how you drown, because you end up exhausted and you can't keep going. But if instead you were to relax, the riptide will actually pull you out into calmer waters. Or people will say, like, you swim along the along the horizon of the beach, whatever that word is. And that is how you pull yourself out. Like you actually aren't doing anything. You're surrendering to it, I suppose. That's a little bit how I feel about sadness, right? Yes. When I'm sad, I let myself feel it. Yeah. And sometimes it's uncomfortable. Sometimes it feels debilitating, and sometimes it is debilitating. And by letting myself feel it, I feel better faster. It's when we fight it, when we're like, I'm not sad, or like, I'm not mad. I'm not mad, not mad. But then that sticks around because you're fighting it. Yeah. If instead you were like, I am so angry right now, and what I'm going to do about that is I'm going to go for a walk and let myself be angry. Yeah. And then we can have a conversation, and then we can move past it because we've been in it, as opposed to letting it linger. And then like that one crumb that didn't, get swept out comes back and it grew. Yeah. So that's it. I mean, and I see this with my daughter who's 6, and she was she was only 2.5, but she remembers Mark more than the other kids. I mean, obviously Maristella never met him. And I tell her a lot, it's okay to be sad. Like she'll say, I just miss daddy and I'm sad. And say, okay, it's okay to be sad and it's okay to be happy. And what would you like to do about it? Would you like to watch a video? Would you like to look at pictures? Would you like to blow kisses to the moon? We like to say that daddy sits on the moon. So like, would you like to blow kisses to the moon? And giving her that agency to say, this is how I want to address my emotions. She just moves through them. I mean, she's still like, she gets angry and I'm like, okay, you're allowed to be angry. You're not allowed to hit, right? You're not allowed to hurt anybody, but you're allowed to be angry. Yeah. That passes when you fight it. When you say, calm down, you're not supposed to be angry. Let's go. That's when it sticks around because she's fighting it.
Do you find that the emotion thing is something common through all the people you work with? Do they tend to have, I guess you would say, poor emotional, what's the word? I mean, management in some way?
Well, I don't think any of us are like born very good at it. So I don't think that it's a common reason that people would say, I want to work with Bevin because I have poor emotional management. Like, I don't think anybody who has poor emotional management has enough self-awareness to know that they have poor emotional management. But also a lot of the people that I work with have been through what I call deeply challenging experiences. So they've been through intense emotions, and however they feel about how they've managed those, we can always get better at it. And I think there's a lot about sort of getting permission to feel all of those things. I shock people when I'm like, I was really pissed off at Mark for dying the other day. And they're like, what? And I was like, yeah, I was mad because I had a mouse die in our van. He was a research engineer for Honda. I was like, dead animals and cars, definitely his domain. I should not be dealing with this on my own. And I was mad. It passed. I mean, I still love him. I can have those, like, I can be mad at my kids and still love them. Like, we can have more than one emotion at once.
Yeah.
So I think that what my framework does is it gives everyone tools and techniques and tactics to better navigate big situations and little ones.
So was the growing of the business and you being the founder of this framework, I mean, did you come to points where you were like, okay, I'm creating this and because being an entrepreneur is not easy. Being an entrepreneur and a single mother is not, it's twice as hard. So hats off to you. Do it.
Thank you.
Then lastly, even having kids, like that's from a male perspective, I can't even imagine. So all of these things, the damn framework, I'm pretty sure is continuing to evolve as you yourself are going through these things. How is Bevin? How are you applying? Or even evolving it as you continue to grow new things and have new challenges come about?
Man, I was just talking to somebody about this today. So first of all, I grew my first business when I got laid off before Mark passed away was called Collaborate.work. And that was, I was a launch manager, brand strategist. And I did digital marketing basically. And that is the one that I grew to $300,000 in 18 months. Then I scrapped it because I got really passionate about the Take the Damn Chance movement. And I grew that from $0 to $300,000 in just under 2 years. That then is now what I'm focusing on. Like I'm shifting again, sort of like I'm still doing the Take the Damn Chance movement, but I'm focusing a bit more on like women who've been through these deeply challenging experiences. And what I have learned is that when I do my own process, when I focus on my own damn manifestos, it works, right? And it works, like I see it in my health in particular. When I like write out my damn manifesto around health, I see progress in my I have fibromyalgia, so like I see progress in pain reduction. I see progress in like the goals I've set for myself. When I find myself sort of panicking around my business, I get back in touch with my damn manifesto and I say like, hey, I'm doing this to share this framework. I'm doing this to build a business and because it's my calling. And so it works. Like I've it's one of those things where I like, there's sometimes where I'm like, I wish I could tell you that it doesn't work, but it does. And so so I call myself out on it because I say, man, this is hard, or this doesn't feel like it's working. And I have some well-meaning friends and coaches in my life who are like, well, how, like, are you following your own process? I'm like, no, stop. Just pretend I didn't ask that question. And so, yeah, it just works. And so I think that the evolution is coming in that I have different damn manifestos for different areas of my life, and just seeing more clarity around how to support people in building their own damn manifestos and using the do the damn thing method. Yeah.
Is there anything else that maybe can be applied in other forms, or something that we should know more about the damn framework or mindset?
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things about the damn manifesto, which is really like the core foundational piece of the do the damn thing method, is finding our yes. And I think for your audience in particular, this might be really important because when we talk about our yes, one of the key parts is, what is your top priority for now? And I think entrepreneurs in particular are notorious for having shiny object syndrome. Oh, yeah. And so we're thinking, oh, I'm going to do this and this and this, and I can totally just squeeze this in on Tuesday mornings. And we have all of these ideas, and they're all amazing, right? They're all great. But we have to pick our top priority for now, because when everything is a priority, nothing is. It's kind of like trying to drive 17 different cars to the same destination. You drive one car a mile and then you got to run all the way back. And then you drive one like a quarter of a mile and it's not very exciting to you. So then you drive back and you get the Ferrari and you drive that one 3 miles. But then you're like, this isn't very practical. So I'm going to jump back over to the first car. And nobody's getting to the destination. And so we pick our top priority for now. That becomes your yes. You pair that with your 6-dimensional why, and that becomes your damn manifesto, which is the touchstone that you just come back to when anything gets hard. And also when you are not sure about whether to take something on, you hold it up to that damn manifesto and see, is this in service of that? So when I get offered a project, I hold it up and I say, is this in service of moving the damn framework forward? Right? Is this helping me share the damn framework with as many people as possible in as many ways as possible? No, this would actually be a huge time suck where I would go back behind the scenes into a launch. I'm going to say no. And that just helps. It's like a great barometer to say, okay, is this something I should pursue or not? I've already set the parameters for what I want in life. And this just makes it easier.
Yeah, I like that. And you build some type of discipline, it seems, when you're able to say no, because that's something that we tend to struggle with sometimes as well. I know for a fact the fear of missing out or the fear of not getting something done continues to drive me at points where I'm like, okay, I can get all this done in one day. And realistically, you just cannot, you know?
Yeah. Somebody once told me we dramatically overestimate how much we can get done in a day, and we dramatically underestimate what we can get done in a year.
And that is so. Why is that? Why do you think
that? I have no idea. I told you I just heard it. I didn't come up with that. But what you said about, it's saying no gives us discipline.
Yeah.
The problem typically is that we don't have a strong enough yes, because every yes carries like hundreds of implied no's. Exactly. Right? Me being here today means I'm not out at the playground with my kids. I'm not taking a nap. I'm not grocery shopping. I'm not all these things, good and bad. So if you're having a hard time saying no, you just need to find a yes you're more passionate about. Because when you know your yes, the no's become so much easier.
Oh man. And great. And I can see how that can help, because now you're not second guessing or thinking about, okay, maybe I should have said yes, or even feeling bad about it.
Right.
What were some of the, I guess, pillars or principles you used when you were forming this mindset? Because before you knew what it all was, you knew that you just had to make something happen. You knew that you wanted to form something. What did you use, I guess, if you don't mind me asking, to help you make a plan such as this to the point where you can pass it on to others?
So just to be super clear with your audience, it wasn't like I popped up the day after Mark died and was like, how can I make meaning out of this? I'm going to start a movement. That I actually don't really believe I need to make meaning out of Mark passing away. It was really only because over time, I started to see that I operated differently in these difficult situations, and I was curious about it. So when Mark passed away, I really boiled down what I needed to very simple things, right? One was I needed to keep my children safe. I needed to keep myself safe and healthy, and I wanted to keep our house. In order to do that, I needed to build a successful business because I had bills to pay, and I was now the sole financial provider. And so as that time went on, I said, okay, that's my yes and my why. And that is my decide and declare. I'm going to decide that I need to keep my children safe. And I'm going to declare that by how I show up in the world. And then in the attend your own party, it was just, again, it was how I experienced things. I saw how when I stay present, I am able to make stronger decisions. We make our strongest decisions in the moment. and like when we are present in the moment, and our body can only ever be present in the moment. So the more and more I saw, okay, when I'm present in my body and in the moment, not stuck up in my thoughts, I make stronger decisions. That became this attend your own party, stay present in the moment. The M was because I thought about how I experienced losing my dad to cancer and how I had written him a letter and I handed it to him instead of mailing it. I had been home to just visit him. There wasn't like a come home, like called home situation. We knew he had cancer. He was in the hospital for some tests, but I just went home. I wrote him this letter while he was taking a nap, and I decided to hand it to him because I was staying present in the moment. And he called me when I got back to Chicago and he was like, "Bevin, this means so much to me. Thank you so much. I love you." And that was the last time I talked to him because he passed away the next day.
Wow.
And so I saw how powerful moments are over minutes, that we staying present in the moment creates our life. And then the now is the time is just, I mean, it's so pure and so obvious with my experience is that I know we are not promised tomorrow. And so there's never going to be a perfect day to start your business, to, grow your business, to have a stronger relationship with your partner, to find a new relationship, to get healthier. There's never a perfect day. So why not today? Now is the time. And so over the year and a half after Mark passed away, and I was kind of exploring that with a coach of mine, and I was asking a lot of questions about my experience, about myself, and it started to form into this. And then I'm really good at acronyms. So I was able to like make it into the damn phrase. Like I was able to make it work with the word damn. It was not actually where I intended to be.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this just makes sense. And it's so much easier for other people to remember. It's easier for me to remember when I'm on podcasts. So I can just talk about it and people remember that damn girl.
Yeah. Bevin, amazing. And I want to bring this about. I want you to correct me. Paraphrase this, but I believe you were saying you had this quote. It's talking about the fact that we do have little time. But it is not an excuse for.
Oh, I know what it is. Yes.
Okay.
So I'm like, wait, is this something I said today? No. Okay. So what I think this is what you're talking about. So I will often say this because people know that I've been through difficult situations, right? And I say, we never know what's going to happen, right? At any moment, we never know what's going to happen to ourselves, to the people that we love, to our jobs, to our homes. Like if the pandemic has taught us anything, we know that like we never know what's going to happen at any instant. That is not a reason to live scared. It is a reason to live fully.
Yes. I love that, by the way.
Yeah.
Love that. And I think that is a great call to action for people in a sense of like, do not sit on your, don't just sit aside and allow life to happen. We do not know. We have no clue what tomorrow holds. Live fully.
Right.
And I think that's what for me, that's what it resonates. Your damn framework is saying that. Like, and even the word itself, and even when you use the word, do the damn job or just do the damn thing.
Damn thing, right?
Yes, like it needs that. So I want to thank you so much for one, creating it, two, being the person that you are and showing up how you're showing up and doing the work. And three, just for being here, sharing your story with us. So pleasure. I like to do this speed round. 3 quick questions.
I'm so terrified because you are like the first person to like stump me on a question when you talked about religion earlier. And so I'm terrified of these 3 questions, but I want to say something really fast before we dive into it, which is that when we talk about like, do the damn thing, right? And like, live fully. Some people take that to mean like, oh, so I've got to like do the things I'm scared of and go skydiving and like quit my job and all these things. That's not it. These are all totally self-defined. Right. So for me, sometimes living fully is getting to take my kids to pancake breakfast. Right. And sometimes the living fully is It's like treating myself to the self-care that I need in order to show up the next day. It is not necessarily this hustle culture of, burn all the candles at all the ends and never stop. And that's not it. It's that you have one big, bold, wonderful life. How do you want to live it?
Yes. Moment to moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what that was really hitting for me, what you just said.
Yeah. Okay. So I will now accept your 3 rapid fire questions.
Okay. Believe me, it's not, don't be scared. Don't be scared. We're going to do the damn thing.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. First question. Favorite movie? Name 1 or 3.
Okay. Totally embarrassing. Okay. 2. So totally embarrassing. It's called Center Stage. It's like from the 90s. It's this dance movie. It's, kind of terrible, but also amazing.
Musicals.
It's not music. I am a former musical theater nerd or actress. But yeah, it's so good, but so bad. And then also The Proposal with Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds. I feel like I should have a more profound answer, but those are the 2 that come to mind. So there we go.
That's fine. 5 minutes left on Earth. What's the song you're playing?
Oh boy. 5 minutes left on Earth. What's the song that I'm playing? Oh my gosh, something I can just wail to. It might be The Story by Brandi Carlile.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to go with because I can just sing it at the top of my lungs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the next damn trip, where are we going?
Actually planned or
just want to?
So my next planned trip is to the Poconos, which is a family trip we take every year with my sisters and their kids and my mom. And this year my mom's family comes. And so we alternate every year, like family, or my dad's side, my mom's side.
Beautiful.
I would really like to take my kids to the beach or on a cruise this year because they've never been to the ocean. And I really want them to experience that. And what I need to have to make that happen is adult help. And so I just have to figure out who is coming with me. That's because hard. There's 3 of them and they run in different directions.
Being
so
kids.
That's being kids, right? So yeah, hopefully I'll figure that out this year.
Well, I'm wishing you the best on that. So before we end, I'd like to give you 2 minutes to say some final words to the listeners, and also let them know where they can find your information, how they can contact you.
I feel like I have covered a lot in the time that we've been together. I don't necessarily have any final words, except, truly all of this is self-identified. So your yes, your why. I think sometimes we feel this pressure that, so one of the questions we ask about the yes, one of them is it personal? Is this your dream? Right? Too often we're chasing dreams that other people think we should go after or they want for themselves. And so you don't need anyone's permission to go after your dreams. You are not a 2nd grader trying to get to the zoo. You do not need their permission. And so it's really important, like we said, now is the time.
There you have it. There it is. Another great episode of Beyond 6 Figures with today's guest, Bevin Farrand. If you guys looking to get in contact with her, please just visit bevinfarrand.com. And you can follow her on Instagram and all social platforms. Same thing. And if you guys want to continue to stay in touch and get the show notes in a note form, go ahead and click the link below in the show notes and sign up for the newsletter that's released every week. So, until I see you, great people, be great, be vigilant, be curious, be you.